All right, what's up, everybody? This is Paul Newell, your host for Men Talk About podcast. I got my man, Jeremy
Yo.
Greene, here with me. Who you with?
What's
Yes,
up?
yes.
Thanks so much for having me, Paul.
Yo, man, blessings, man. I'm grateful to have you on, man. You're welcome. And listen, for those that are tuning in, and this is the first time you're coming to this podcast, let me give you an idea of what this podcast is about. The Men Talk About podcast is hosted by a man, and it's interviewing men based on their wisdom, their experience, and the topics that we cover in this podcast are designed to support men in our development, support men in our education, support men in our inner work. So what we do here is this is about sharing this information, making and also doing our best to provide applicable tools for you men and those in really honing in on the masculine energies. So today we got my man Jeremy Greene here. The reason why, well, actually, I'll get to the reason why I have you on, Jeremy, in a moment. I'd like to first start by talking to what I am aware of in regards to what Jeremy does right now, and also my experience with him. So for those that have listened to the podcast before, I've talked about the Mankind Project, and I facilitate some circles to learn more about the Mankind Project and different views. And I met Jeremy through this, and I was drawn to this dude because first off, I appreciated how he was expressing his truth, how he contributed with the intention in that space. And we were, it was like, hey, let's connect afterwards, and then getting to hear his story, especially, well, I'll say hear his story overall and what he's doing, what he's putting out in the world. And I said, I get to have this dude on the podcast because I think he brings a ton of value. So let me give you some of the who, what, where, when, and why of my men. All right, he's a social coach, podcaster, influencer. Growing up, he struggled with severe social anxiety, which is going to be a topic we're discussing today. And he's got a podcast called The Social Ninja. Listen, check it out. Fresh. Listen to some episodes. The one with Evan Carmichael is freaking fresh, man.
You listened to it.
Yeah, yes, I did. Yo.
The Social Ninjas. There's two of us.
Social Ninjas. Okay, we got okay, yeah, so it's you and Kyle. Okay, so his experiences, he helps others. He has some apparel. If you go to jointeamhuman.com, you can see the podcast. You can see also his apparel. What he's doing out in the world, I think, is brilliant because first of all, he's sharing and bringing energy, and he's opening up possibilities for a lot of men, and he's going after influencers and really taking his influence and his spread and range to a big, broad audience. So I'm happy to have him here, and I'm excited to chop it up with him on some things that I think are relevant in this time. So Jeremy, I want to check in with you. Thank you, welcome. And anything that I missed or anything else that you want to talk to the people about, or about you?
I'm sure we'll get into it, but yeah, it's pretty spot on. Had severe social anxiety growing up. Was bullied really bad. And because I was bullied, I took on a lot of stories about myself that were limiting beliefs, that I had a hard time loving myself and connecting with other people, even though deep down I really wanted to. Connection is really important, but I just had a mental block, and I just was obsessed with loving myself, and I was obsessed with being able to connect with people in a confident, I bring value everywhere I go headspace. And through my journey of turning going from social anxiety to helping other people connect, it's been a wild ride. And it's not like I'm not, oh, look at me, I'm amazing now. No, it's a practice. And I think that's something that's really important. It's like people are like, that's just who I am. No. You're never as who you are. Who do you practice being, right? Who who are you choosing to be? Who are you? What are you practicing? What mindset are you practicing? Like how are you showing up? What are you practicing showing up as?
So this is so I want to dive in, man, because what you just said, I'm curious now because we talked when we first had our longer conversation. You talked about being bullied, and you talked about battling the social anxiety to really have connection. So I'm curious, when you made that transition, what was the what? Who did you practice being to make the switch?
That's a good question, and I know you're aware of parts work through Mankind Project, and
Mm,
I'm a huge believer that I talked about just a second ago. It's who I am. I don't think there's just one part of us. There's multiple parts of ourselves, and it's incorporating all of our parts. It's like the confident version of ourselves. It's the scared little child. It's the um, living in full power, and then all the parts. And then in the middle, the king is you. And with that being said, I noticed that I internalized all my thoughts, which was harmful. So if I have the thought that I'm not good enough, that no one likes me, and I accepted it as fact, it hinders my ability to connect. If I have the thought that no one likes me, I bring no value anywhere, and I incorporate it and I see it as a belief, then I'm practicing it. And I didn't even realize I
mm,
was doing that. So for me, first off, I would say separating yourself from just the thoughts that come up. So instead
right.
of like, um, I am not lovable, no one likes me, you separate it and you say, I have the thought that no one likes me. I have the thought. I notice that I have the thought that no one likes me. I notice I have the thought that I'll never be successful. All those thoughts are not ingrained because I'm still
Mm,
alive.
right.
I can
It's
retrain
interesting.
my brain.
Yeah. Well, I'm digging what you're saying because it's something I've taken into my language. Instead of saying I am sad, I'm working with saying I am experiencing sadness,
Hmm.
because it's like it's a transition, like it's a spectrum I can go through as there's differences and different things going on. I can go through different experiences in those things, and I can experience different things within. And I
Hmm.
and I think it's, to highlight too, you mentioned parts work in the Mankind Project. Can you talk to a little bit of what that work is for you, and then also what was the driving factor for you to bring everything together? Or that, yeah, if you could
Good
talk to that.
question. Good question. Yeah. As far as incorporating, I think for me personally, I wanted to be liked by other people because I never was in my head. Like the story I told myself is no one likes me.
Oh
Um,
man.
so it would cause me to show up inauthentic because attention is attention, doesn't matter where it's coming from. So I would people please.
Right, me too.
If something is bothering me, I wouldn't say it. If someone does something that pisses me off, I wouldn't say it because I might risk losing them.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so that's my huge parts work, uh, and it still is like it's still a practice. So for example, um, I did really powerful parts work piece where I literally physically moved into the part of me that just didn't give a shit about what anyone else thought, like at all. I never really was in that space to that degree, and it was a safe space to do that. And I'll never forget this moment. I was in this guy's garage, and earlier in the night, some dude was like picking his nose and flicking it. I didn't say anything because I don't want to like, you know, upset anyone.
Right.
And you're like, all right, let's really breathe into like the Jeremy that doesn't give an F. I don't know if I can curse on here. So,
Yeah, you can. Yep, you
okay.
can.
So,
Yep.
so I called him no fucks given. I named that part of me and I gave it love and attention. And I'll never forget this. I got into it and I was like, so what's up? What's your name? No, I don't give a fuck. All right, that's your name. And then talk to me. What's your belief?
Wow.
What do you think of Jeremy? I think he cares too much people think. I think that, um, and if he listened to me more, he would be more authentic and he'd be more powerful. And like, I really got into it. And then in the middle of it, I was like, and this guy fucking picking his nose and flicking it. Like, come on, man, it's gross. Like, just like,
That's what's up.
it's so powerful. And he gave me a look, and he's like, oh shit, he caught me. Yeah, I shouldn't do that. Like, he knew he was in the wrong. Like, it was insane.
Right.
Like, and I snapped out of that, and I was like, oh my god, I'm a fucking badass. Like, giving that part of me some love because I'm so scared of losing everyone was so powerful for me.
That's look, oh my goodness. Because you saying that experience, it's like I'm hearing humans can shut ourselves down. A lot of the more powerful parts of ourselves, I'll speak for myself. I can shut and I have shut a lot of myself down because I'm a form, I'm a practicing reformed people pleaser. Okay, that was my big thing for the majority of my life. Is like I don't want to lose anybody, so I'm going to keep my mouth shut.
Mm.
The problem there for me, Jeremy, was shoot, dude, I would get these amygdala hijacks where I would freaking let everything bubble, 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 and then
Ooh,
pew, it's like a
same,
freaking
same.
blow up. Like, and people are like, Paul, I never knew you could. What was that? And then I have all this shame, like, yo, I really shouldn't have said that because again, now I went completely to this X
The
spectrum.
other,
Now
yeah,
I'm back over
the
here.
other one, yeah.
It's like freaking crazy, Jeremy. And it's like, this is the reason one of the things I appreciate about having these types of conversations because from my experience working with men, I think that's the piece that um that that fails to get acknowledged. That piece, that part of hey, being able to express ourselves and being able to say what's real, like what we're experiencing, and be free of like giving a fuck, like yeah, being free of giving a fuck if someone's gonna take offense to it, really. And
Yeah.
it's and at the same time, I want to make sure we're aware. It's not saying, "Hey, I'm gonna say something that's gonna make people feel like crap." Like I heard
No,
you say, like, "Hey guys," I didn't hear you say, "Hey guys, stop! Hey asshole, stop flicking your thing, your boogers." It was more like, "Hey man, this guy flicking his freaking boogers." It was
yeah,
like
I was,
there was no maliciousness to it. It was direct.
no,
It
it
was
was
just,
direct.
and yeah, man. And I think that is a powerful piece, especially when it comes, and I think it's something that is a concern in our society now because there's like, with social media, Jeremy, people can type whatever, whatever they want to type with no consequence. And there's
Mm,
really no social engagement of
mm,
truth. You follow what I'm
no,
saying?
no, yeah. And I'm doing this challenge right now where I'm talking to someone in every country in the world and every U.S. state in the world through video chat. And
Mm-hmm.
one of the I just like threw that out. One of the biggest
Nice.
themes I noticed is that people wish they can be more their authentic self more. 90 something percent of the people I talk to say I wish I can be myself more. What
Interesting.
the fuck?
So, what would you say, or like from your experience in these conversations, what would you say is the most common factor for people for the challenge of people have in being their authentic self on a regular?
Rejection.
Mm,
People don't want to be rejected. Um,
mm,
it's plain and simple. Rejection for the human condition is a rejection of self, rejection of identity. It's scary. When in theory, like with emotions detached, the more rejections I go through, the closer I am to success. The more
right.
reject it's just that I think it's what it comes down to is framing. For me, framing is so crucial. How I frame things. So for example, if I go up to a girl and ask her out and she says no, that is a success.
Right.
Because I only have control what I have control over. Most guys, they go up to a girl and she says, "No, I wish I was better. I can't believe she said no. Oh my God." No, you celebrate yourself for asking her
Right.
out. Next, get some more. Collect those rejections. And the more rejections you go through, the less they bother you. Because my brain over exaggerates how awful it is.
It makes it almost it makes it worse.
It
Makes it
does.
a bigger like, oh God, it's very it's wild because that rejection stays a while. rather than like, okay, great, it's fine. And interesting, was this in the was I think this was in the Evan Carmichael video, right, or a podcast. You guys talked a little bit about this too, like the win,
Yeah.
celebrating the win, celebrating what you can control. If it makes you
Yeah.
scared, do that shit right now.
Yeah.
Like, then do it. Okay,
Yeah.
cool. Hey, you did what you can control. You
Yeah.
asked her out. You gave this a shot. It's it's very interesting. I have a this partnership, this collaboration, and I noticed that uh we alternate as far as the spaces. One space is like this, like pie in the sky, like I can't wait to teach it to like a ton of people. And then the other space is like, look, man, we got to focus on what's happening right here, what we can control. Okay, do we post?
Mm.
Blah 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 blah. And I find that it's really like this balance, right? It's like, oh man, I don't know. I got lost in the thought for a second because I was thinking
That's
about
all
my
right.
situation, and it's like this rejection of like, look, man, let's focus right here and do what we can control, rather than
Yeah.
like trying to focus all out in the
Well,
ether.
yeah, I can get into it forever, but one thing I really want to bring into light is that it's normal. I think our society, the way it's systemically like what the way it's set up is it's results driven.
Mm,
And I think there's a error in that. There's a I don't people always trash talk why winners or they celebrate like your effort over like who won. I kind of liked it looking back. I used to trash talk it, but looking back, like you put a bunch of reps towards your goal. Heck yeah! If I call 10 of my friends and none of them respond, that's a huge win. If I reach out to if I reach out to powerful influencers until Instagram says we can't send anymore, that's a huge win. Not when they respond.
that's an interesting frame. That's an interesting frame. So, what would you call that result? What would you call that oriented? Like, for example, we talked about everything is results oriented. So, what would you call that with? Is it more action oriented?
Yeah, action, positive reps towards your goals oriented. Because you're always winning. If you're always
Mm,
like, if you're concentrating, getting more into it, getting more meta,
yeah.
concentrating internally as opposed to externally, relying on external forces to feel sense of worth, sense
Got
of
you.
accomplishment. Like if a girl that says no to, I'll go on a date with you. Sometimes she's in honest space. Sometimes she's dating someone. Sometimes, like, you never know what they're going through. Maybe you have no chemistry with her and she sees it and you don't because you want to be liked by someone and she's doing you a favor at the end of the day. So it's like concentrating on what you can control, something internal. If I like, people always say, oh, I got to get a job by tomorrow. I got to get a job. But instead, how about I reach out to 20 different jobs, something you have control over, the win, like, get those wins.
Mm, get the wins.
Yeah.
Uh, I want to use that as a segue into something that you told me you did to help you get over any social anxiety. Because I think that what you did was huge, was multiple wins. So can you talk to the audience about what you did, what you took on as a stretch or goal to help you overcome your social anxiety?
Which one?
Good point. When you traveled, like remember you were telling me like
Mm,
you traveled, and then as soon as you let go, this came up. So like you did some circles around the world,
yeah,
right? So if you
yeah,
could talk about that piece, because if I recall correctly, that happened. You did that after you began to take control of your anxiety, your what you're experiencing.
yeah. As for me, it's feel the fear and do it anyways. Run towards the roar, especially if it's in the direction of how you want to show up in the world, how I want to show up in the world. So I have done free hugs around the world. That has been an exposure therapy. I've interviewed celebrities on the red carpet in Hollywood as like just as a challenge. Um, And as far as travel, man, before I did Europe by myself for 2 months, and it was excruciatingly challenging. I had anxiety attack before I left. Same before I left to Asia. I had like well, Europe, I planned out the trip a lot more, so it wasn't as bad. Asia, the challenge was so my Jeremy Talks to Strangers Instagram got featured on the news because they liked what I was doing. And I was kind of just doing it for the reason I started Jeremy Talks to Strangers Instagram was for reps to prepare for interviewing celebrities initially. And then it turned into I want to bring the human race together one person at a time. I want to make videos and celebrate that every single human being is a important puzzle piece to the larger puzzle. This is why this today's society now is makes me so angry and just sad. This us versus them living in fear space.
Mm.
So going back to your question, so I was giving free hugs and talking to strangers on Jeremy Talks to Strangers, making videos, and I recently re-upped on Join Team Human, a community I'm building of people from around the world, and I had an anxiety attack, and I remember I didn't plan my trip to Asia at all. Like I was like, I'm gonna go to Taiwan, and then 3 months later, I'm gonna leave from Taiwan and come back home. That's all I had planned.
Wow.
And I left like the day before. I was freaking out. Like, what am I doing? My brain was just like freaking out. Don't go. What are you doing? Trying to talk me out of it. Saying all these mean things to me and putting all these limiting beliefs in my head. Anything it could, like almost like a temper, like a toddler temper tantrum.
Wow.
And
Wow.
I had a call with a warrior brother who's a social worker, and holds the space, in my opinion. He's on leadership track in MKP, and I remember um, he just accepted it, like accept it. I hear you. Thank you for trying to keep me safe. Thanks for your positive intention. I appreciate you wanting peace for me, and I did it anyways. And it was
Mm.
the highlight of my life by far.
What made it so?
Oh, it was just it was so challenging, and the adventures I went through, I made up as I meet people, and like, we're doing this, and I'm like, okay. It was just so freeing, and it was also showing how much more uh capable I am than my brain help like says all the time. And if I was like,
Mm.
wow, if this thing that my brain says is going to be awful and excruciating is can be the highlight of my life, what else in my life am I lying to myself about being really awful? And if I actually did it, it would be the best thing ever.
Wow, man.
Like, is there something for
Wow.
you that scares the crap out of you, but you know is like a good action to take? Like, it's all about like, what is your next yes? Life is all about your next yes. And you decide in that moment to say yes or no.
Uh, uh, this is the first time I'm putting this out in public, and I want to create an interactive book
Oof.
where you read a chapter, you scan a code, and then it takes you to a video or a meditation or a reading. Like it's like a multimedia book experience,
That sounds legit.
dude.
It has like
So
I like that, and then it has like a barcode depending on how you're feeling that day, and oh, that's brilliant.
so I'm in like I this is the first time I've ever even put it. Actually, the first time I did it with my girlfriend. I told her, and I was like, even after I told her, I was like, oh, that felt a little good, but I was like, I'm butt puckered here because this shit is fucking massive, right? Because
Are you open to something? This is an exercise I
yes.
learned. All right, so I invite you to close your eyes, take a
Mm-hmm.
breath.
Yeah.
Yeah. We're gonna go on a journey of accomplishment and sensation. So basically, I want you to imagine a world where you created this interactive book and people around the world are using it and loving it, and it's making a powerful, powerful impact in a positive way on people around the world, and it's on Amazon, and it's people are buying it, and everyone's loving it, and you did it. You did it. You created it. How does that feel? What's going on?
Oh man, I'm looking at the cover and I'm smiling and rubbing it and
Hmm.
I'm feeling the texture of the book.
Got it.
It's like I set it up where it's like it feels rustic and ancient. Like
So who's around? Who's around there? What kind of impact are you making? And
my
where?
sons are there with me. My sons are there with me. My guys, men mentoring men are there with me. My ladies there with me. My family, my brothers and my sister are there with me. And we're in a restaurant. We're celebrating.
Mm.
Um,
And breathe into that celebration feeling. You can even let out like I fucking did it. And where do you feel? What do you feel when you say that? I did it.
yeah, I feel in my heart, right between my
Invite you to
heart,
put
my
your
solar
hand there.
plexus.
Put your hand there. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And any moment you're feeling like, why am I doing this? You can go back to this space. And this right here. Well, thanks for doing this, but this is just one powerful practice that I do take my clients through to kind of why am I doing this? On the surface level, we know. We don't know from like a experiential.
Mm. Wow, I still feel it.
Yeah.
Um, wow, thank you for that,
Thanks for trusting me.
man. That's a powerful feeling, man.
Mm.
It's I'm finding like in that space, I'm coming back to something you said before of practicing being to move through. Because have, yeah, there's resistance, there's fear. And after what I just felt there, I'm like, damn, yo, me rubbing my hands and seeing everybody with their glasses up, yo, this feels pretty freaking fresh.
And then you see
This feels fresh.
is that fear valid? It has a
I
purpose,
mean,
but it's
it
not
has a
right.
purpose, yeah, and it's like I got through it. I did it. I
That makes it
did
that
it.
much better, doesn't it? Because you did
Yeah,
it.
man. Like
Mm-hmm.
that's a powerful piece for men because I'm coming to a survey I did recently of black men, and I asked them one of the questions. What are some of the more challenging emotions that you experience? And the biggest one, well, I think it was top. I think it was either the second or the third. No, it was definitely a second. It was anxiety, first fear, and I wonder, in your opinion, from what you experienced, uh, where does that come from?
Comes from living in the future.
Thank you, thank you. So, what is the ways, like from your experience, and especially um, with where we are as a society right now, right? With social media, with like a lot of the tensions and so forth, what would be your suggestions or recommendations for men, people, to be here, be present with all of self? What would be your thoughts, comments on that?
I have so many.
Let's
I would
go
say,
three. We'll go game show time. Dun, 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 dun.
gosh. um,
All right,
First
Jeremy,
off,
what's the first one?
this is a great um piece I like to teach other people around me, and that's I do this with clients all the time, and this is just like grounding exercise. That is look in your environment and tell me three things you see.
Yeah,
Go
that's a
without
good one.
thinking. You know this one?
My phone. Yeah, I like that one. I like that one.
Yeah. And what you
Let's
do
get
is
some present.
yeah, and you're like, tell me three things you see. Out of those three things, which one sticks out the most? Tell me more. Tell me more. What does that make you think of? And the next one is sensation, like sense of touch. Like close your eyes and feel how gravity is affecting you, like your butt on your chair, the wind, my hands on my head right now, my breath. I'm relaxing now because I'm concentrating on my breath now. Like there's that level of not being in my head. Um, the second one is gratitude. So many like there's people like once I have this, I'll be happy,
Mm,
and that mentality is not helpful because from traveling the world, I have seen the poorest people the happiest most of the time. And I was mind boggled. Like, why they have nothing? They're sharing like a shack in the middle of nowhere, and they're so happy. I'll never forget. I was in Taiwan doing a 2-day bicycle ride through like the most beautiful nature of Taiwan. And I passed by this village, and there's this like family, and they have me sit down, and they gave me food, and they made sure I had water and food to go, and they just took care of me. And I remember I tried to give them money, and they're like, oh no, and they had not much money, and they're just so happy and satisfied. And it's just like, in my judgment, they were just happy with what they had, not seeking more. Like one of the
mm,
biggest reasons we're unhappy is because we lack, like we feel we lack something, and or we seek pleasure. Like I've told you this before, like seeking pleasure is a form of dissatisfaction with what you have or where you are in your life, and practicing
yeah,
practicing the sense of I'm happy now, I'm satisfied now, I'm successful now. Like what is success for you? Like a lot of people say, oh, success is having a lot of money. No, it's different for everyone.
right.
It's impact. Like what is the impact you're making on the world? Do reps towards that impact you want to make in the world. Um, for a big one, I think what I've noticed people a lot of people don't like they say gratitude, be grateful, and then people see it as cheesy. And in my opinion, recently I've realized is that people label things as cheesy because those
Mm,
things are hard to do. So when you label it
mm,
as cheesy, it's like an scapegoat. It's an excuse not to do those challenging things.
get that.
Yes, when I thought of that, like, whoa, it makes so much sense.
Makes sense. It does
Just
make sense because it's like,
being
oh, that's
grateful.
cheesy. So now
Yeah,
it's a pass. I'm like, I don't have
yeah,
to do that. That's
yeah. You don't have
cheesy.
to do it. And
What? Right.
gratitude is a
Wow.
practice. Happiness is not like I once I get this, I'm happy. No, it's a practice.
Right.
Gratitude is hard, and the reason is we're not wired to be grateful. And the reason we're
Mm,
not wired to be grateful is because I was reading this book on this, and if you're leaving the cave, and we're cavemen, cavewomen, and to the left there's a saber-tooth tiger waiting to kill us, and to the
mm,
right there's all our dreams coming true and sunshine and rainbows and everything we've ever wanted in our lives. We're programmed to look at the saber-tooth tiger situation because if we pay attention to
mm,
everything coming true and bliss and everything, the saber-tooth tiger will get to us. That's so we have to practice it. They did a study and they
wow.
had a control group and they had one group of people say three good things that happened to them each day, and then another group of people who didn't do anything in the control group, and the other people who just didn't, and they came back to the people who said three great things, good things that happened to them each day, and their happiness and satisfaction levels in life were so much higher. And it's today based. I noticed people don't know how to do gratitude, is what I've seen. Like, I'm grateful for my family, I'm grateful for my friends. That's like saying I really love this rerun of this TV show. Your brain's gonna get bored
Right.
because yes, it's good to be grateful for your family and everything, but it's the same every day. It's not a practice. You're not gonna do it long term. Let's be real. You're not.
Right.
I'm grateful for my hot cereal this morning. The more detail, the better. It had
Right.
strawberries in it and cashews and almond milk and this and this. Like even
That's what's up.
studies show just taking the time to search for the things you're grateful for that day makes you happier.
Yep. Yep. I think that's part of the brain science to it too, Jeremy.
The brain science is
It's
huge.
yeah, because it's like I was teaching this class Monday night about the executive brain, and that's like our thinking brain, right? And what you said is really is tip top because when I can focus, like when I do juices, I think the veggies. You know, like I really damn grateful for you. I'm grateful for the opportunity to have this, to be able to buy this
Today.
dishes. Yeah, today.
Today.
Like
Just saying
it's
today.
yeah. And then that even brings it in narrower. You know what I'm
Yes,
saying?
because today's all we have always. Everything that
Right.
ever happened in history happened in today.
Mm,
And just understanding why it's so hard to be present. For one, control or illusion of control. If I'm thinking about everything I want to do in the future and I'm getting stressed out, my brain's happy because my brain can conjure anything it wants. It can come up with any sort of anything it wants. So it's quote unquote in control. So it's
yeah.
happy. There's no unknowns. If I'm thinking about everything from the past, I should have done that, I should have done that, I shouldn't have done that. It's in control because it knows what happened in the past. But right now, hey Paul, hey Paul, hey Paul, hey Paul, 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 Paul. I do that as a joke, but also like your brain didn't know I was gonna do that.
Right.
So it was the unknown. So it's unnatural to be in the present moment because we don't have control in the present moment because anything can happen.
Letting that sink in. Letting that sink in. Mm, wow.
But
Yeah, I
looking
think
around,
that's the fun of it, though. I think that's the juice, right? It's. I find like in the presence of things and being in this one step at a time place. There's an excitement there, man. For me, anyway, because like, ooh, what could happen? Like, I don't know. I know right now, like to address my control brain, this is what I can control right now, making this juice. This is what I can
mm,
control right now. I'm going to take notes on this podcast right now. Like, oh, I'm supposed to send an email. Okay, what I can do right now is send the damn email. Right? Like, and then instead of focusing on blah blah blah, I'm like for me personally, I miss all the little things I get to do when I'm trying to control the future. I'm like, oh, well shoot, if I even want to get there, I gotta be right here to do what I need to do. Like whether it's contact this person, sell, whatever it is, man. I
mm,
think that's for you, like because well, especially with your podcast, I think it's very uh I think it's helpful to talk to what you're doing with your podcast too, in regards to the content and also to the types of guests that you have. If you could talk a little bit about social ninjas and what that's about, I want to get that across as well.
yeah, the social ninjas started same as a challenge, as a rep. Something that scared me. There's this guy on Instagram I connected with who also has a history of social anxiety, and as a rep, him and I decided to do an Instagram live because it scared the crap out of both of us. So it was kind of just a rep. It was challenging, it was scary, exposure therapy, and then from there, we were like, a lot of people reached out and they're like, "Wow, we really." I needed to hear that. I was in this space. We did a I think we did it on the topic of confidence. We both did a bunch of research and gave tips for confidence,
Right.
and people reached out like that really helped me. Thank you so much. I was having a really hard day and it helped me, and I was in denial because I have this whole story of I'm a fraud, like imposter syndrome.
Yep. I get it.
Yeah,
And
and
so,
it's normal. It's totally normal. But here I am getting all these messages of like you made such a difference in my life. Like wow, it's not it's doesn't go hand in hand with the belief that I bring no value, that I'm an imposter. Because look at all these people that got value out of it. So it's not
so what?
right.
So in that moment, like at that intersection between, well, this is what I'm thinking, and then this is what I'm receiving. Like, what was that space like for you when you had to? What was that space? What was the experience like that?
I screenshot. Anytime I get those messages now, I
Yeah.
screenshot it. I put it in a folder. And in that folder, when I'm like in that space, in my head, thinking, why am I doing this? No one cares. I'm never gonna be, this isn't that. I look at that folder. I see all those
Okay.
messages, see the impact. And I
Mm.
think people in my judgment are so scared to love themselves fully because they don't want to come off as arrogant. But it's such a difference. Such a
But
difference.
well, Jeremy, is it? I mean, is it really arrogant though to love yourself?
No.
What is it? I mean, I always get. I'm curious to know what your thought is on where the fuck that even comes from, because I think it's this common thread of like I don't want to self promote, or I want to, it doesn't matter. I just think it's a condition, but I'm curious as to where you think it comes from,
Multiple sources. I think it comes from society and how we're constructed to like follow directions and not being into like I guess there's an individualistic aspect of it, but
man.
I, I I just think how it's a societal thing. It's a construct. Like we're just a number. We're like in the classroom setting of school. It's it's parents and teach how parents like parent their children. They're not an individual. Like you got to follow the rules and this and that, and it's trauma. Like if there's any source of trauma in their life, so it comes from different things.
Mm.
Um, and then it's also I think it's fear of stepping on toes as well. Like if I love myself fully, people are going to be jealous, and then if I feel feeling joy is very vulnerable because there's
Mm.
going to be people who are jealous of the fact that I feel joy, and I don't want to like make other people feel terrible, so I'm not going to feel joy. But if I'm feeling joy, I'm actually able to hold a more powerful space.
Mm.
If I love
It's like
myself
what are you so
fully,
happy about, right?
why are you happy? I wish I was
Yeah.
happy. So I'm gonna put you down and displace my own garbage. And so it's scary to feel joy. It's vulnerable, as I'm saying. And I want to touch base on this because before I forget, um, is the aspect of like judgments. And I feel like in the societies, I'm going to get into race because I think it's important. It's talked about. And I think people are so scared to talk about race because I don't want to step on any toes, right?
Right.
Who am I to talk like about that sucks about racism because I'm white, whatever it may be. And I think that's part of the problem. People are so scared
Yes.
to go there. And to bring it into the realm that I want to talk about as far as like judgments. Like it's everything's a judgment. I
Mm.
judge this person to be nice. I judge this person to be terrible. No, because you're putting it in stone. Racism, for example, I talk to some people around the world, and some of them say like my message to humanity would be don't judge other people. That is not natural. We are programmed, I am programmed to judge. I judge this hot kettle to be hot because it's been on the heat. Some
Right.
judgments are wrong, and that's okay. And I think in our society, people don't want to be in the wrong. People deep down don't want to be like bad people.
Right.
So it's like once we say, oh, well, this person's racist, that's when it's done. Because if you label someone as racist, they
Right.
have no incentive to go out of that bubble you just put them in, that space you put them in, because instead separate it. You're having racist thoughts right now. You're having
Thank you.
racist
Yes.
judgments right now. Allow a
Right.
space for them to change, and allow a space for those judgments to be challenged. And I
We
think, Before I
yeah,
forget, I know you got one more thing I forget. I don't want to touch base
yeah.
on was like I think people are so scared of their racist thoughts that they never get processed, so they never go away.
Speaking truth, dude. That's exactly what I was gonna say. I see.
Mm.
It's so bananas watching and observing all this because if someone says anything that is a racist thought,
Yes,
wow,
everyone dumps on them. Dumped
boom,
on them. They get
everyone,
dumped
man.
on. They get dumped on. So then, like, it teaches other people. Oh, look what happened to Mikey. Like, he admitted the fact that he had a racist thought. I'm not doing that. So
I'm
then,
not doing that shit.
no. So there's no safe space. I went to a group one time, and someone I'm not gonna say names because of confidentiality, but she's like, I
Mm.
have some racist thoughts. And I was like nervous. I noticed I got myself. I was like, oh, I can't believe she said that, this and that. But there's a man of color in there, and the guy was just like, thank you. Like,
Yeah,
thank you.
yeah,
And I'm like, whoa,
yeah.
I thought he was gonna get mad at her. Like,
No, no. I mean, for me personally, like, listen, okay, you acknowledge that. Let's talk about it. Let's process it. Because the thing is
yes,
that most of the time, what I find is that people are unaware of what they're thinking and that it can be racist because that's what they're conditioned to believe. That's how they grew up, man, and that's what their parents believe. So guess what? That's the judgment they took on. So to experience and say, hey, I have a racist, or someone says something racist, like, that's a racist comment.
yeah,
Instead of, you're a racist.
you're racist. Yeah,
Like,
because it's
whoa,
hard. It's
wait,
hard to
huh?
challenge judgments. It is very
Yes,
hard.
man.
That's like we're
Yes, man.
preconditioned. So if I call you racist, and it's like it's already hard as it is. I know I'm repeating myself, but it's really important. You take that away. Like
Right.
and that goes the same with like confidence. I'm not confident. Every time you say I'm not confident, you practice the story of I'm not confident.
Yep.
I'm powerful. Every
Yep.
time I say I'm powerful, I'm unstoppable. I'm whole just the way I am. I don't need to do anything to be complete. I'm practicing that.
Right. Me too. Me
And
too.
I want to bring up one more story. It just encompasses this. This is
Yeah.
beautiful. Um, two of them. I was doing a
Nice.
challenge of talking to a stranger every single day.
When was
And
this?
this is like right after I did Mankind Project and no, NWTA. I was just fired up, and I was doing like talk. I was practicing for interviewing celebrities, and I was
Gotcha.
making a video with a stranger a day, and I was scared. And there's one day, this big buff black guy with tattoos, and I needed a video that day, and I'm like, oh shit. I judged him to not be friendly. Big black guy. I judged him to like probably not want to talk to me.
Huh.
It was a judgment. My brain was trying to keep me safe. I
Right.
had a, I had
Yeah.
a thought, and I'll put it out there as a racist thought. Absolutely, I'll admit it. I'm not a racist person, and I was like,
Right.
"Fuck that! I'm challenging this thought. I refuse to not challenge this thought." So I went up to him. I was like, "Hey, how's it going? I'm making video. I'm trying to talk to bring the human race closer together." And see, I feel like fear saying this. I had a racist thought, and I went
Right.
up to him and I said this, and I think this is what needs to happen. I went up. I'm doing this challenge. He was the nicest person I'd ever talked to in my entire life.
Mm. Yeah.
And my mind was blown because I feel like I'm pretty
Mm.
open-minded and I will challenge my judgments. And I had a racist thought.
And you
One,
moved into it.
I
Yeah.
moved into it.
Yep.
I feel
Doing
like
it anyway.
I hope my want is that more people admit it. Like I have a racist thought. I want to challenge it.
Yeah. Yeah. Listen, if someone would say that, I'd be like, let's go. Let's challenge it.
Let's challenge it.
Yeah, let's do it, man. Like, what was the second story? Was that these?
Oh no, second story is crazy. I was in Western Australia
Uh,
on my like solo Asia trip. I did a pit stop in Eastern Australia, and then I flew to Western Australia to staff a transformational weekend in the forest. I was making it up as I went along, and I
mm,
was staying with some warrior brothers, and there's a group of islanders. They're all drinking beer, and they're all like bigger guys, and man of color. And I was biking by them, and I judged them to not be friendly. I was like, oh, they're drinking beer. They like aggressive. And I was like, hold on. I was like, oh, let me challenge this
uh,
one.
uh,
And I turned the bike around, and I was like, hey, how are you guys? Just like,
mhm.
how are you? I'm Jeremy. I'm visiting from Los Angeles. I was like super nervous, and they're like, "Oh, hello, come sit down, join us." I was like, "What? Do you want a
Right.
beer?" I was
Yeah,
like,
sure.
"Yeah,
Yeah.
I love a beer." They're like, "Here, thanks for joining us. You're our brother." Like, they're so nice. They're
That's what's up.
singing. We made videos, just like having a good time. It's like, "Do you want another beer?"
That's team human, man.
Yeah.
That's team human, man. That's I think that's a big thing to take away from what you're saying. One of the many things over this podcast is really stepping into that fear and challenging our thoughts.
Mm.
And like as you're saying it, the experience really became human. It was like, oh, because listen, it's human to have thoughts, to have
Mm-hmm.
judgments. That's what we have a brain for.
Mm-hmm.
That's like, talk about grateful. Like, thank you. I'm grateful for this brain today. That gives me these
Yeah.
thoughts and these judgments. And I'm also grateful for my heart and my soul today for the courage to challenge them.
Yeah. Well, some are good. Some are like, I judged that I should not go through this red light. Like, some are good, and then we don't even think about it.
Right,
And some are
right.
not. Some are not. Don't some don't serve us.
Dude, man. Team human. Join team
Join
human,
Team
man.
Human.
Join team human.
dot
Yes, dude.
com.
Then, oh yeah. Yes. Listen, so while we're here, man, talk to the folks about how they can get in contact with you, how they can support you, all the goody goods.
Yeah. So the podcast which we've talked about um, is the Social Ninjas. We've had over 20 TEDx speakers. We've had influencers of all walks of life, from mindset coaches to entrepreneurs with followings of 800,000 people and crazy like that. I'm not saying that from ego-based perspective. I'm saying from a base of like, I had trouble getting anyone on my podcast. So
Mm,
like, I encourage anyone who's listening to take those reps and just believe. And consistency is currency. Consistency towards your goal is a currency. And just keep going. A big one, I know you asked where I can find you, but like, don't put anyone on the pedestal. Don't, because you're putting yourself down. And you're an important piece. You're an important puzzle piece to the larger puzzle of humanity. And
thank you for that.
my
Yeah.
mission is like, we all have a purpose and a reason to be here. And my mission is to be a powerhouse of self-love and authentic human connection by leading by example, and it's by supporting people and loving themselves 1% more each day and getting 1% better each and every single day. And
Mm.
the Social Ninjas podcast, and then my Instagram is Jeremy Talks to Strangers. And I just started a new project, as you talked about. Join Team Human is on Instagram as well. And I got jointeamhuman.com. And yeah, so
I'm
this is
looking you
so.
up, Jeremy. There he is. Jeremy talks to strangers. You can't see. Can you see again?
No,
Yeah,
it's all
dude,
good.
I'm digging it. The social ninja podcast.com. I'm in following. Dude, this is dope, man. This is dope. I'm so happy we had this time, man, because I appreciate you, man. I appreciate you.
Thank you, brother. Appreciate you as
So,
well.
thank you. So, before we wrap this thing up, put a nice bow on it, um, take 90 seconds and you could talk about something we talked about, like a last thing you want to leave people with, or something unique that you want to leave people with.
Mm, I have so many, but the one my
It can be a couple.
the ones that come to mind is, as long as you're being authentic, you are never failing. Celebrate the unfollow on Instagram and energetically. As long as you're being authentic, people are gonna fall off. And if you're being authentic, celebrate it.
Mm,
And on top of that, no, your emotions, feeling emotions is okay. Fear, sadness, it's okay to feel those emotions. They're not bad or good. Society labels them as bad, but they're not. They're normal. Anger, for me personally, I was always scared of my anger, but it can be used as a powerful tool to create boundaries and to make powerful change. And people pleasing, going back to people pleasing, I noticed that when I was people pleasing and not being authentic, I was being a straight micro liar. So you
Mm.
think you're being a good person, but you're
Mm.
actually
You're
micro
lying.
lying. You're lying like consistency. You don't even realize it. I didn't realize it. And be compassionate with yourself. Like you make mistakes as long as, and one big one is apologize to yourself when you're mean to yourself and without shame and just say, I'm sorry. I shouldn't have been mean to you. I just want the best for you. And really feel into that. And yeah, go easy along yourself as along the way and create like a very unconditionally loving part of you that is like your best friend along the way. Because there's days where I have trouble getting out of bed,
Mm.
and I'll channel that part of me. I'm like, Jeremy, I know you don't want to get out of bed. I hear you. We got this. We can do this. Come on. I know you don't want to get out of bed. This sounds ridiculous, but it
Talk to
works.
yourself. Yeah.
Like I understand. I dropped something. It's okay. It's okay. It happens. Like, what can I do now? The past
Mm.
does not define you. What can I do now?
Mm. That's what's up. What can I do now?
Mm-hmm.
Man, I know we're supposed to be wrapping this up, but I want to come back to what you just said. Okay. Okay. Because I think that is so important for people to hear is how we talk to ourselves and how we work with ourselves,
Mm-hmm.
apologizing to ourselves. It's like we're making ourselves our best friend.
Mm-hmm.
And there's going to be ups and downs in that best friend relationship. In
Mm-hmm.
any relationship, there's up and down. And also, there's a respect for each party so that we can apologize, we can be compassionate, we can help each other grow. And I think what you just said is freaking on point, man. Tip top. I'm glad you got that out. You want to say
Yeah.
something else?
I'm the only person who's going to be with me my entire life.
Ooh. Oh, wow. Mic drop. Dude. Yeah, yeah. There you go. Can it? Yeah, put that sound on it. But yeah,
And have fun
yeah,
along the way.
man.
That's
Yes.
I love the fact that we got all goofy in the end because there's so much. I was telling you before we recorded. There's so much research to show like putting purposeful play and having fun along the way, how powerful it is, and learning and connecting and just being
Mm,
happy and learning things quicker. Actually, and it's just I feel like everyone takes life so seriously a lot of the times. I do sometimes, and it's just
me too.
play is a practice.
Yeah.
Life is a
Yep.
practice. Everything's a practice. What are you
Yeah.
practicing? What are you practicing today? What mindset are you practicing today? You practiced a negative mindset yesterday. It's okay. Practice a positive one today.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, man. Mama say, mama sa, mama makusa. Yep. You know what, man? We're gonna hang out. We gotta be yeah, Jeremy Green. Jeremy Green. Jeremy Green. Who you with? Yeah, Jeremy Green. What? We gonna rock this podcast. Social Ninjas in the podcast. Jeremy Green. So grateful, you know what I mean. Hey. Yeah. I appreciate you, King.
Appreciate
Blessing,
you.
man. Blessings, man.
Grateful to share this space with you. Thank you
Pardon
very
me,
much.
man.
Thanks
Blessings,
for uh
man.
thanks for letting me pour out myself authentically.
It's a gift to be in this space, man, with you, man. Thank you.
Thank you.
For everybody listening. Thank you for tuning in to the Men Talk About podcast. Until the next episode, people,
Till the
listen,
next one.
share. Listen to this one again, because I'm telling you, I know as I'm going in to edit this piece, I'm going to be listening to this multiple times before I share with you all. So, listen to it multiple times, baby. All right, man. Peace, everybody.
Peace.